What is going on, everybody? It's your girl Pam with 2200 Taps. Yo, I got like this new light setup. If you're on YouTube, you can see it. I feel like I'm being interrogated with this light I have on my computer. So guys, forgive me if I look washed out or whatever, but it is what it is until I can get a sponsor, because we still don't have a freaking sponsor. Anywho, enough of that. Enough about me. I am glad you guys are with us today because we have a killer guest, and this guest is joining me, not even from America, y'all. She is in the UK. She's in the UK. She is a combat veteran, British. I butcher it every time. You got to forgive me, Amber. Is it British Royal Army? What is it?
Is it just British Army? Just British Army.
British Army. British Army. Okay.
Yeah, British Army.
I get it wrong so bad. But with that, I want to introduce my guest. Her name is Amber. Amber, what's your last name? Because I don't even, I see your last name, but what's your real last name?
So it's Guy Mahosking.
Okay.
But everyone just says, so in the military, everyone just said GH. It was easier.
GH? I'm all
yeah,
about
just
that.
GH is what.
Yeah. All right. Amber GH. We got with us today, y'all. Amber, I had the pleasure and privilege of meeting her recently to our trip to Ireland with Operation Wreck the Troops. It's a nonprofit here in Dallas, Fort Worth, doing amazing things. And it was basically, they flew 6 of us veterans out there, including Amber from the UK, and we all met in Ireland. And we got paired up with some really amazing musicians, shared our stories with them, and we wrote a song about it. And then we had to perform it in front of people within 24, 48-hour turnaround. It was really cool, super stressful. But the intimacy that we had together was magical and beautiful. And Amber was my roommate because we were the only 2 girls there. And Amber's all of literally 5 foot nothing and 90 pounds soaking wet. It's great. But no, that's where we met her. And Amber, man, when I heard your story, I knew I had to get you on. I always say it if and when you're ready, and you're like, let's go. So thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you for having me. Like, it's an honor, honestly. And you're amazing. And your story.
Oh.
I have to share that too one day.
Yes, I appreciate that. You are currently just outside of Paris, right? Is that right?
So, so over the water from Paris in England, United Kingdom.
Over the water. It's going to be a great show, y'all. This is what we did. Our banter when Amber was speaking, it was great. She's our little bit.
I love all y'all.
Yeah, there you go. We taught her some Texas twang, the difference. Taught her bless your heart, and the different variations you can use bless your heart. And she basically called me an asshole with that. One day she called me out on something I taught her. Excuse me, a butthole. Gotta watch my mouth here. I did something and she just looked at me. She's like, oh, bless your heart. And walked away. Like, the execution was perfect, you guys. It was great. Super pumped, super proud of her. But in all seriousness, thank you so much for being here today. We are about a 7-hour difference, so it's early morning for me, getting into early evening for you, and you got your kiddo, I'm sure, somewhere, but I can't. This is the coolest thing. You're our first interview overseas, so I feel very special right now.
Mm-hmm. I'm privileged. Thank you.
Yeah.
Oh,
it's so
cool. Exciting.
Oh my gosh. Well, real quick, I'm gonna shut my mouth for a second because, tell us. I'd love for you to just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself before we really get into your story, and all that good stuff. Cool.
I'm ready.
Let's go.
So I'm of the old ripe age of 35 for a start. 35. So growing up, I had a pretty rough childhood at some point, and then I decided.
Internet.
I had to escape and join the army at 16. Me or you?
You broke up a little bit.
Oh, did it?
So
I'm here, Pam.
Okay. Can you hear me?
Yeah.
All right, cool. So all I caught was you had a rough childhood and you kind of went blank.
Oh, did I?
Yeah, you froze.
That's what happened.
No, freaking technology. Go ahead.
That's literally what happened. I went blank.
Oh my God. We're not good. We're still keeping that part.
So I joined the army at 16 to kind of escape and then sort of just, get away from the rough childhood. I thought I could join the RLC, but I was too short to be a driver. So I went to med corps and then did the training for that. Went to Afghanistan in 2007, up Herrick 6, then returned and then went through a bit of domestic abuse with my son's father. Had him, had my boy, and then I got medically discharged in 2016 for PTSD, anxiety, depression, and lower limb injuries. And here we are now.
Wow. Yeah. Wow. So much. There's so many different directions we can tackle, right? The childhood, this, that, and the other. But I think we really agreed that your time in service, to what you've struggled with, continue to struggle with, and the healing that you found in Ireland and the connections you've made, besides this pretty face.
Forever my sister.
I'm telling you, I love it. Yeah, but when what we said in the room when we were sharing our stories is super sacred. And what we said in there stays in there. And again, it's not my place to share anybody's story. And I mean that when I say that, unless I have their permission. Now, with that, we are privileged here on the show to be able to bring these guests, including yourself, that are ready, that have gone through the trenches, that have gotten themselves out of the rut, that are still battling or overcoming or whatever that looks like, but are ready to share this stuff. So this is the bravest thing I've ever seen anybody do. That's including all my guests and anybody that's wanting to come on the show. This is brave. It's not easy. So thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, so I'm going to dive in with you real fast. We were at the round table, you're sharing some stuff, but one thing that really got me was, well, first, how many tours did you do in Iraq?
In Afghan, so just one tour in Afghanistan. Yeah, one tour on tour, yeah.
You're a combat medic.
Yeah.
Yeah. So what exactly? Right. I know a lot of people that are combat medics. It's not for the faint of heart, I'll tell you that. But while you were in Afghanistan, what was your primary role as a combat medic? What did you do? What did you need to do? And, what did that look like for you?
So some people see a combat medic and they think, oh, you're just at Bastion and you're not out on the ground. But that wasn't the case for myself and a lot of my unit. We got attached to infantry regiments, all in different FOBs. And my first FOB was FOB Rob, just by Sangin Valley. And that was pretty intense. So there it was med cover for our boys for going on patrol, but also what we witnessed there was a lot of civilians, an awful lot. And I remember my first casualty clearly. His brains were everywhere. And I can't cook mince properly. I can do it raw. So when it's raw, that's when it triggers me. But when it's not raw anymore, it's okay.
What's mince?
Mince meat.
Mince meat.
So mint, yeah. Okay. So it's all it looks kind of like brain. So when it's raw, it's all red. And I'm always took back to that first casualty, and it wasn't one of our soldiers or British or American soldiers. It was an Afghanistan man, and unfortunately we couldn't save him. But that was intense because it was my first casualty at 18, straight in there, and I was just like,
I was just going to ask how old you were.
Yeah, 18 so very young.
Old. Wow. Okay.
And then I remember we had to crike him, but I don't know if you've heard the noises, but I'm probably going into too much detail. Some people might not like to hear this.
You take us as far and as deep as you want. I know that we're trying to kind of ride that fine line. So, however, and guys, my listeners know that if there are little ears around, they need to police them because this is how the show is. We get very explicit, very deep. So, however you want to tell us, it's completely up to you.
Trigger warning for people.
There you go.
There was noises coming out, and it was like, and I'll never forget that noise that was coming out of this body, and the brains everywhere. His whole face smushed into one, and I remember that first casualty was so intense, and for a few days immediately I was getting nightmares in Afghanistan in FOB Rob, and I was just like, oh my god, I can't do this. It's It's literally the first time I've been out to the fob and my first casualty. And
Mm.
I think I'd been there like 3 weeks in Afghanistan. I was just like, I can't react like this every time. And then after then, I had to try and see everybody as a resusciani, like for first aid and
Oh, the dummy?
a doll, basically. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh,
So
wow.
I had to switch my mindset and be like, they're, they're not people, but they are, but I need to picture them as
Hmm.
it's like training and it's not real just to get through.
Yeah.
And from then I tried that. And then you get women and children come through with blown off limbs and babies dying. And then you're like, mm, that's another story.
Yeah.
As a woman, and I think man or woman, I think that affects you long term. This baby screaming, crying, blown off limbs, and
Yeah.
shrapnel wounds is just something that will never leave your mind. And that's briefly what we spoke about, isn't it, in Ireland, what I had said, and about being a mother. And it took me a long time to realize that was a trigger for me, actually. I think not long until before Ireland, I realized that's why I struggled being a mother for so long and I never wanted it anymore because the crying babies or if my son's hurt or something like that, it takes me back to then
So
that when I had that day of
you didn't have
mm,
your son then, right?
not when I was in Afghan, no.
But
I
after
had him a few years later.
and
Mm.
and because of the trauma that you had in Afghanistan with those babies and the mothers, um, you had a hard time connecting with your baby, like wanting to be a mom to him. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, so oh, I think I molly coddled him, but I was so even more protective and worried someone would hurt him,
Mm,
even more so. And any scream or if it was like
yeah.
any crying, I'd immediately be like,
It,
that's too much.
yeah.
And yeah, I can't stand it. Even now, sometimes with his autism, he makes like toddler screams. I'm like, Brandon, don't do that, please. And it's
Yeah.
too much.
Because he's what, 12 now? He's
Mm,
older. Yeah. He's
yeah,
definitely older.
up here.
But and I heard and I think you said it just a little bit ago. I don't want to brush right over it, but after that, you didn't want any more children after having him.
No, not. I realized that wasn't for me. That I knew I couldn't do the baby stage again of the screaming and stuff, and it's been terribly difficult. But as a single mum, you crack on, and it's just. But I knew for sure I never ever wanted to do it again
How long
because
were
I knew I'd be triggered.
Oh Jesus. I can't imagine this. How long when you were overseas, when you were deployed? How long was your deployment for?
So we did 6, but it's between 6 and 7 months. We don't do as long as America.
But you
Mm.
did but within that time frame you dealt with a lot of I mean, you're the first
Yeah,
responder. You're the first one there.
yeah,
It's up to you to try and save these people, regardless of what they look like, what the sounds are like. It doesn't matter. You have to be able to save them, at least until you can get them to a higher level of care, because that's what we're
yeah.
trained to do. At what point, let me ask you this, because I'm curious, because when I went through my stuff, probably ours was and my story is in like episode 3, guys, if you want to go back and listen to it, it's crazy. Um, like the screams and all that stuff. Like once I took my gun belt off to decompress, and we knew the bodies, the divers actually found the bodies, and they took them, to the ME or whatnot. There's so much more to the story I'm leaving out. But when everything was said and done, I took my gun belt off. I didn't want to eat anything. I didn't want to drink anything. It was weird, and for like 2 weeks straight, it was nothing but nightmares and the screams, and it was just like I could not, I couldn't do it. I still can't go around pools because there's some screams I just don't like. When did that set
Mm.
in for you, or did it ever set in? Like you said, immediately after your first one, you started hearing it, but then you had to like turn that switch. But
Mm.
at what point was it really just taxing on you, where you're like, I can't, I'm done, I can't do this, I'm having trouble?
So it was in Malaysia. I was posted to Malaysia to reside there and have a 2 year posting. Um, and I was going downhill a long time before that, about a year. Brandon was about a year old, and I was leaving his father from the domestic abuse situation. And we were in safe houses, and I tried to kill myself then the first time with sleeping tablets, 20 sleeping tablets. I mean, I thought for sure I would be gone, but it didn't work. But anyway, then I was like, the army had to safeguard me in safe houses to protect us from my son's father, because he was obviously threatening to shoot us and he'd get hold of weapons, and his
Jesus.
PTSD was bad.
And he was a
Yeah,
soldier as well, right?
yeah.
Oh my God.
So I had to carry GPS with me. Like, there's so much more. It's insane, really. When I look back, it's like, really? You've been through that? But yeah. So I had to carry GPS, and they kind of hid me in this barracks. And then they got me a posting to Brunei, Malaysia, and somewhere he couldn't get to us.
Wow.
And when I got there, I don't know what it was. I don't know if it was the environment or just being in a foreign country again, but I don't think it was the foreign country, because we've done like Kenya, Excise Sharp Point, and we've done loads of other stuff. So I'm not entirely sure. But Brandon was 3 then, and I was already going really downhill from him being 1. I was really getting close, and when I was there, I was getting sleep paralysis, and
Wow.
I completely broke when I was out there. And I think we were in Brunei 6 months altogether. And for the last 3 months of that, I was on diazepam to stop, and I was driving around Malaysia on
Diazepam.
diazepam, which is insane. Yeah. But they were trying to get me some counselling, and then the doctor finally decided to back me back to the UK for my mental health. And I was just relieved, but also disappointed in myself as well. I was like, oh, I've let myself down, but I knew I had to get out of that environment where I was. I didn't feel comfortable. I can't say exactly what it was. I'm not entirely sure. I just know it wasn't for me.
Ugh.
And it really was bad.
And
that's when
Go ahead. Go ahead.
That's when the medical discharge process and me seeing counselling really, really set in after that. And they finally went, "You've got PTSD."
Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Yeah. How old were you when that happened?
In Malaysia, how old was I when I got posted there?
Brendan was 1.
When I finally got posted, he was 3, 2, 3,
Okay.
2. That's 10 years ago, 25.
So from 18, that's like, I can't do quick math. That's like 7 years of suffering.
Yeah.
Ish.
It's weird though. I wasn't suffering immediately.
Right.
My mum said I was drinking a lot when I got back from Afghanistan.
Well,
I just thought it's what everyone does.
well, that's
That's
what it is. that's suffering,
yeah.
my dear. It's the internal battle is what I mean by that. We mask it with drinking or this or drugs or whatever because we just don't want to feel it.
Yeah. And I didn't really think anything of it. I just thought, well, everyone is drinking. We're all drinking.
Yeah.
And then,
So we do.
yeah, so you just sort of, you are masking it, aren't you? And you're shoving it deep down. And I've always just thrown myself into fitness. And so I just kept throwing myself in fitness. And then one day out of nowhere, like before the safe houses, that was before Brandon was born. And I was 20. And I just said, oh, I've had enough of this. And I tried to take tablets again. So there's a few times I've tried. Believe it or not, it's not worked. I haven't got the knack of it.
Let's hope you never do.
But I tried. yeah, exactly. I
Mm.
tried, and I was poorly mind the next day, I was late to the medical centre to give vaccinations to the boys, and very late. I rolled up at 12 o'clock instead of 0800 hours.
Wow.
And the sergeant in the medical centre, he just went, "Where have you been?" And I said to him, I was like, "I'm not well. I tried to kill myself last night. I don't want to be here." And he ag-eyed me and put me on work parades for a week. And I'll never forget that. I got no support the first time.
So let me ask you this, because
It's weird.
well, it's weird, but it's unfortunately all too common. All too
Yeah.
common. You ask for help, guess what?
Mm,
You might lose your job. Or we're gonna.
yeah.
It's like these. It scares them because they don't know how to handle it or how to deal with it. You know,
Mm,
and uh, you know, I'm gonna get a lot of crap for this, and I hope I do because it's gonna stir up some conversation around
oh, yeah.
these episodes. But we were talking about mental health, and like people are like, "Why would you give somebody who's mentally unstable a gun?" And this, that, and the other. I'm like, you know who's the most unstable with weapons? Police officers and first responders. And you know how I know that? I got them in my family, and I did law enforcement myself. I did it.
Mm,
Because we're taught to shove everything down. We're not supposed to feel. We can't do this. So, you know what? We lean on alcohol. We lean on pornography. We lean on whatever it is that we lean on so we don't feel. And then at the end of the day, we're so like, we're suffocating so bad, we blow our brains out.
yeah.
That I'm, and,
Because that crutch isn't working.
right. And so I say that because, and I really hope I got people talking after that comment, and I'll happily talk to people who are pissed off because I think we hit a button that needs to be hit. And I'm okay with that.
Hmm.
I say that because, and they're getting better. I'm not going to dog all police departments because there are some that are doing really good when it comes to mental health. When people ask for help, instead of turning people away or freaking the f out, if you will, actually get us help. And I said it before, Taya
Hmm.
Kyle. I got to interview Chris Kyle's wife, Taya Kyle, and she's like, if the military can celebrate your physical fitness wins, why can't they celebrate your mental health wins?
Yeah,
It doesn't mean
I agree.
it doesn't mean you're a softer police officer. It doesn't mean you're a softer whatever. Just deal with it so you don't have to show up sideways or potentially hurt yourself or kill yourself or your family. Don't do that. So I'm sorry, I like get on a soapbox when I talk about this, but I say that also because in America, it's very much a broken system still. The pendulum on
Yeah.
preventing suicides going the opposite way than when we needed to. In the UK, for you, it sounds like it's just as bad, if not worse. Um, but if it's better, can you help us understand what it's looking like for you guys over there? If you were to ask for help in the service or whatnot, or even civilians, what is the what does that look like?
So actually, now you say that, so the first time I did that and I got kind of in trouble and work praise
Hmm.
from this sergeant. I'll never forget his name. I won't mention his name, but I'll never forget
It's okay.
his name or face. Um, he there was in the British Army then at that time there was a very big. They wasn't on mental health. They didn't seem to care at that time. They wasn't aware of it, and that was a there was a man the f up situation
Yeah.
going on, very much in the whole of the British Army. Hence why a lot of people didn't come forward, and I think hence why I was then so scared to come forward with it. And it come to when I was in safe houses that I finally took the 20 sleeping tablets, which was a good few years later,
Hmm.
and really meant it. But after the sleeping tablet situation and the military putting me in safe houses and protecting me and my son, it was a complete different story. If that makes sense, I was actually getting support, but at the same time, there's still a shame that carries that, and the regimen, and I think anywhere you are, there's shame on people having mental health because you get medically downgraded. They're not as capable as everyone else.
Yeah.
They look at you as your I've noticed a lot of people who have mental health problems, other people look at you as though you're not intelligent or you're stupid or you're not capable. And mental health doesn't mean that you're not capable and you're not intelligent and that you're stupid. It just means you need some support, and everyone gets mental health. But I do know since I left, it's grown more and more where they have had more support.
Good.
And I know it's happening a lot. And even in Civilian Street, within the last 2 years, they've put in place Op Courage, it's called, for the a bit like that scarf that Ken gave me with the helpline that you have in
Oh, the
America.
veteran, the crisis line. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So we have crisis lines,
Good.
but this one's a bit more intense. It's like they've brought Up Courage in play for veterans, and so much
Hmm.
there's so much more awareness on veterans and suicide and mental health now than there was, say, 5, 6 years ago. And the difference it can make, there's that immediate, you get immediate intervention with 3 months full on, I mean, 3 months full on support to get you out that dark hole. And it's making a difference already.
Good.
And it's still in the learning process because they're still fixing things, but it's really making a difference already. So it has improved.
Good. I'm glad to hear that. Unfortunately, it's people like you and me and those that came before us who weren't able to get that kind of help, that had to push and scream and fight to at least get something going. And it sounds like it's working.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that. Real quick too, for my listeners, if you're not too pissed off at me, thank you. But if you are, thank you very much. I really think we need to have make this kind of conversation normal. You know, it be comfortable being uncomfortable, and I think we can do big things around here. So with that
Yeah, I agree with that.
uncomfortableness, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask not an uncomfortable question because I'm going to kind of piggyback off of that, but you said something in Ireland that it almost shook me when you said it, because I was like, how much horrific stuff does one person have to go through to become this? And you had mentioned that you're a vegetarian now,
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
we don't have to go into complete detail.
Mm.
It's not even, it's too much for me, you know, and I can take a lot, but ultimately, what made you become a vegetarian?
The casualties on tour in Afghanistan, the the burnt bodies, the smelling, like because meat is flesh, isn't it? It's wounds, the blood, the just all of it would trigger me. Raw meat, especially, and then when I've cooked burnt bacon, we I had a casualty. One of our WFR boys, one of our infantry boys, they come back in from patrol, and obviously vehicle tank got blown up, and he died. But touching him, his skin was crispy, like crispy bacon. And I remember that smell so clearly. And it was like crispy, it reminded me personally of crispy bacon. And I remember when I first got back, I used to love bacon. And my mum was cooking it one time in the house and burnt too much. And I was like, whoa, I'm back. I can't, it made me feel physically sick and I had to leave the house. The smell is just too much. And I mean, I'm getting better because my son's a meat eater. So I can't, I will never force. I'm not one of those vegetarians. I won't force him to eat vegetarian. He's a meat eater. He can have his meat. But I've got to then still cope with the cooking of things. And it can be difficult sometimes. I think I've become a worse cook at cooking meat, actually, because I'm like, I don't want to do it. I'm just like, oh.
Oh my gosh. Well, thank you for sharing that. I think that was when you said that, it literally shook me. And I mean
Mm.
that. So thank you for that. And when you get your butt down here in Texas, you're going to be surrounded by a lot of cattle. So just let us know what we can do to help you. I'm serious. You know, we won't put you in any precarious situations, but um, we like.
Brandon, please have some good kicks meat from you, not me.
Oh, we'll take them. We'll have to figure this one out. Uh, yeah, no, thank you for that. And I know you've been, man, like
Thank
it's
you.
just the Rolodex of things you've been through are just going like this in my mind. Just things you've shared and stuff that's sacred that we're not going to talk about. Um, but you did there. I'm going to segue a little bit towards to what you're doing now because it's pretty freaking cool. Pretty freaking cool. Um, just thank you for being such a strong woman, y'all. Like I said, she's like you're what 5 foot nothing and 90 pounds, right? It's something crazy. Your specs are really tight. She's tiny, but man, she's fierce. She's fierce. She's a real life Supergirl, and I'm so I don't know. It's just
So
cool,
are
man.
you.
It's so cool to know you. I'm so
Love
stoked.
you.
I love you too. Well, you know, you were talking about some stuff, and you and I have another thing that's very much in common. At one point, we were both homeless. I
Mm,
mean, I was like 3 weeks living out
sex,
of a
right?
car. Oh my god, let me tell you, it was not. I mean, I have like 3 weeks under my belt, you know, and I think I got some street cred with that living in my car. But when you were sharing what you were going through, I feel like you went through that so that you could be where you're at today and what you're doing.
I agree. I
Um,
agree. As hard as it was, that's made me where I am today
so
with the whole situation.
yeah, could you share with our
Mm.
listeners just what that looked like and we'll get to the good stuff here.
So I was discharged, medically discharged for PTSD and what I said before. But we go through a resettlement in the British Army. I don't know if you do that in America.
What is that?
Resettlement process where they go through, I can't even entirely remember what was involved in it, but it was like writing your CV and what to do in Civilian Street. And
Oh yeah, we call it TAPS. Kind of getting you
yeah,
ready for the civilian world. It's
yeah,
like a 4 day TAPS class, which
yes.
is not. It could be
It's
better.
brief, right?
Government. It could be a lot better.
Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, no, we have something similar.
Yeah, so we did that similar to you, a very short period. I don't think it's enough.
Mm-mm.
But also I was going through counselling and on numerous amounts of medication. I mean, I was in no frame of mind to even listen to what the instructor was saying.
Mm.
I don't remember what she said. So anyway, I then get into Civilian Street and you're trying to get accommodation, but because I didn't buy anywhere prior because I was young and I think with the Afghanistan and being on tour, you either go one way, you prep for the future, or you go live your life for the last minute, you know? And I wasn't in a good frame of mind for a long time. I should have bought a house, and that's what I would recommend to any soldier serving. Go and purchase a mortgage and go and get a house before you get out. I would
Mm.
always say that. But because I didn't, we need guarantors, or you need to be in your job 6 months.
Mm.
One, to get a rented property. So, which is really annoying if you don't have someone to be a guarantor, or if you're not in a job for 6 months, you then can't get a rented property. So it's like, well, what do you do?
Mm.
So I was like homeless, and I was paying for hotels. My stuff was in storage. I had a finance car, and I was trying to get on top of payments. So my army, the £30,000 I got for my discharge, that was going on hotels and B&Bs. And then to the point I was running out of money, my car got taken away because I couldn't keep up with the payments. So we then had no car. So as well as sleep, when we had the car, we could sleep in that. But after that, it was gone. And then I was like, what do I do now? Hostels. So me and my son, 3 years old he was at the time, were sleeping in hostels with like people. I'm never been like really around people with drugs and stuff. And there was full on druggies in there. It was filthy. And I was scared for me and him. And I'm struggling for the next meal, like getting food vouchers. And it was horrific.
What,
And it, gone.
what's a hostel? Is that a homeless shelter? What is that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, homeless shelter. Um, it was a different scare to Afghanistan. I would have rather been on tour than homeless.
Really? Well, wow. That's a lot. That's
Yeah.
wow.
And I don't know what it was. I think because it wasn't scared for me more so, it was scared for my son.
Mm-hmm.
Like, what am I going to do? Because I was doing a job, but I still wasn't in there long enough to get a rented property.
Mm-hmm.
And my brother would have my son when I was like doing night shifts. So it was breaking up some of the hotel and hostel time. But it was then like there's still not enough wage coming in because I my brother had to work too, so I could only do like 2 nights a week or whatever. So it was really, really difficult. And I was like, that's covering food, that's covering I was probably getting enough money to pay for one hotel room a night a week, like one night a week in a hotel room. And I was like, now it's gone again. Now I've got no food. And I was just constantly thinking, what am I going to feed my son? Like that was my freak. Like, and you know how fussy some toddlers can be. And you're just like, I don't know what to do here. I've got nothing. My stuff's in storage. I can't even really pay for it at this point either. And I was just a mess
Yeah.
and just frightened of where is this our life now? Is this what Civilian Street is? Because I'd never really experienced Civilian Street because I joined so young, except for what I went through growing up. And I mean, that was rough, but a different rough and in a worse, different way. But I'd never been homeless. I'd
Yeah.
always had the comfort of the military home or a home growing up. And that was my first time I've ever been like, oh. So I reached out to Help for Homeless Veterans charity that they're in the UK, sending a desperate email like, please help me. I'm like, I don't know what to do.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very blessed and like some miracle, they got back to me within 24 hours. They drove to like 4 or 5 hours to pick me and Brandon up from this hostel and put us in a one bed
Wow.
bungalow.
Wow.
And we were there and yeah, it was only temporary accommodation. And I mean, I was in temporary accommodation for 2 years until the government and I could get into a bigger home.
Mm-hmm.
And it was only one bed, but I mean, I finally had something over my head. And I don't know if you get this with homelessness, there's always a fear it could happen again.
Oh yeah. Yeah. Even like
Yeah.
a 3 week stint. I'm like, now I have my own home and my own mortgage, and I'm just like, the back of my head, I'm like, okay, worst case scenario, if something happens, and it shouldn't have to be like that, but it's just like
Mm.
this quiet little, you gonna make it? You know, it's
Yeah.
crazy. It's crazy.
Could it happen again? Could it happen
Mm-hmm.
again? It's always
Yeah,
there. Like,
it's a fear. It's definitely there.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is, isn't it? And I think most homeless people who have been through homeless would receive that there at some point after, which is normal. But anyway, I think I was dealing with a lot at that time. I was still dealing with massively like suicidal thoughts, dealing with a transition after being institutionalized so long in the
Mm-hmm.
military of 11 years
Yeah.
and like losing your job when you wanted 24 years there, full career, and then it's cut in half. And
Mm-hmm.
I was just like, it was quite a rough,
You lose your
rough period.
lose your
And
identity.
yeah,
You really do.
and it took about 2 years to really even comprehend what's just happened and
Mm-hmm.
to get some sense of this is my new reality. So I started giving back to the charity. I was like, I need to give back. They've helped me. They've got me on my feet again, and they support me for 2 years. They've watched me break down so many times in a corner, just crying and anxiety. Bless their hearts. I could say they're earth angels, and I had to give something back. And then they were like, "Do you want to be one of our ambassadors?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'd love
Mm-hmm.
to." And since then, I've just been so opportunities keep falling at my feet.
I
It's
love
been a
it.
blessing in disguise. Yeah.
I love that. Again, it's like you got to
Mm,
go through it to grow through it, man. Like you, and we don't know in that moment. Like there's a reason why we have to go through this stuff, whether it's
mm,
on us or out of our control. But then when you start like going backwards and everything leading up to where you're at, it's like, oh, that needed to happen because of this. It's wild. And you're still affiliated with them, right?
yeah, still. And doing so much work with them. We've just done a fundraiser last weekend I think you call it a benefit in America, like a charity benefit thing.
Yeah, we do benefits
I
or
don't.
galas, fundraisers. No, same thing,
Mm,
fundraisers. I'm actually going to one today.
yes.
Um,
Are you? Yay.
hmm
So
we
you're,
No, this is for Light Up to Live. It's an organization here in Dallas where they give you like
yeah.
red light kits for healing, and once a year they have clay shooting and a golf tournament, like back to back days.
Oh,
Today's a clay shoot that I'll be doing, and I'm sure some of our guys are going to do the golf tournament. I did the golf tournament 2 years ago, and I haven't been invited back because I was like, oh hell no, I ain't golfing. There's nothing personal, guys. I'm just joking. But I'm not a golfer, but I am a shooter, and I love to shoot. So after we get off this
mm,
call, I'll be getting ready so we can head out there. Um, but yeah, no fundraisers and all that. I mean, that's how if you're a nonprofit, that's how you sustain yourself is donations and fundraisers. It's a just constant thing.
yeah.
So I get it.
You can't help others unless you've got the money coming in. You can do it
Mm-hmm.
mentally, but again, you still need the money to put roofs over people's head or to
Mm-hmm.
fund for a proper counselor. You have to have
It's
funding to
crazy, man.
so important.
The gym, the Adaptive Training Foundation, which I talk about all the time. Uh, David, the founder, his goal is to continue to keep it cost free for people that come through the program. Cost free. It literally costs about $12,000 per person to come through that 9 week program. And when you
That's a
have
lot of fundraising.
yeah, and when you have 11 people
Yeah.
at once, that's a lot of money. And I got
Yes.
to tell you, they've got amazing sponsors, supporters, people that believe in the mission, which is number one. Number two, the money's being used for what it's being used for, and that's the cool thing about it, man. Saving lives, helping people. So, um,
It is. If we, and I think, don't you learn from our experiences? We know how to help others efficiently because we've been there ourselves.
oh yeah,
We understand, empathize even more than it's harder to help someone when you haven't been through it yourself
mm,
because you don't understand as much.
yeah,
So,
yeah, um, yeah.
as rubbish as it is.
Oh my god, it's crazy. Hey, we're doing pretty good on time. I want to shift gears a little bit
Okay.
to our Ireland trip.
You're going to make me cry.
No, I ain't gonna make you cry. You might make me cry. I don't know.
Okay.
We love those guys, Matthew, JC, and the gang, and Teresa, everybody with the Texas, country, Texas Tornado Country Tour.
They're out on
Basically,
one now, aren't they?
huh?
I think they're on one now, aren't they?
Probably. They
Yeah.
so Texas Tornado, the tour, collaborated with Operation Rock the Troops. Their mission, Operation Rock the Troops, is to find healing through music. Their thing is when words fail, music speaks. And it's true. Music is what helped save my life. Music is near and dear to all of us. Some of us are more music junkies than others. I am obsessed with music. Been ever since I was a little fetus. And when Matt called me, he's like, "Hey, I need a veteran for Ireland. Are you interested?" And we talked a little more through it, and I'm like, "I'm in. Let's go." And again, sponsors, people that donated, it helped us get over there. It helped pay for the hotels. It helped pay for all this incredible stuff. Also, we could find healing through our story. And yeah, so what was that whole experience like for you?
I mean, I don't think I can put into words exactly. It was surreal, right? It was just amazing, just amazing veterans. You being one of them, like
Mm-hmm.
we really have built family from that week.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna be honest. We've built a bond that is so connected, all of us, that I don't think it could ever be really broken, to be honest. Between us and the musicians
Mm-hmm.
and the camera crew, like all of us just really bonded. And I found it was quite easy for us all to share with each other. We are so open and ready to share, even though at times we know some of them wasn't ready to share. There was definitely an openness between all of us that we connected greatly with. And the music, I've never written a song. I can't
Mm-hmm.
sing very well. I've I'm now trying to learn a guitar ready for when I get to you lot, so I can try and impress you. But my fingers are killing me.
Super glue. Put super glue on your fingertips.
I'm gonna try that one.
Stevie Ray Vaughan did it.
I'm gonna try it.
A
They
little.
really hurt.
Yeah, Stevie Ray Vaughan used to play the heaviest guitar strings known to man, and his fingers would cut because of calluses.
Yeah,
He would put super glue. So there you go. Guitar 101
that's an
trick.
amazing tip.
Mm-hmm.
I've learned a couple of notes, but I had never had a passion for that before. Like
Mm.
I like picked up a guitar like once or twice and went ping, ping, ping. That was about it. And I was
Ping,
like,
ping.
no, not interested.
Well, you
But now I want to.
you look good. I stole I stole a picture from your profile. I'm like, oh, this is a great picture where you're at the beach or something with the guitar. I'm like, this is a great picture. And I think I'm gonna
Oh,
use it
that
for.
photo shoot.
It's great. It looked good.
Mhm.
Uh
Do you want the original ones for the better pixels and
oh no,
because this one, you're not
we're
bothered.
not that
Yeah, I'm not
fancy,
bothered
man. We're not that fancy. We'll get that fancy when we get sponsors. We're not there yet.
either.
I need a
Sponsor,
sponsor.
man. Hello, calling out
Come on,
sponsors.
sponsors. We're a great show, I promise. What was I gonna say? Oh, back to Ireland. So we meet, we're roommates, and
Mm.
we go to this castle, which I think was haunted, by the way. But we went to this castle.
There's a picture. I need to send that to you. We'll talk about that after.
Is it
Oh my
haunted?
God.
Jesus.
Mike's took a picture of me and half my body's cut off.
I I went upstairs to go to take a pill because that's what you say, right? A piddle instead of pee.
Have a piddle.
Have a piddle. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've learned that
have a
instead of
piddle.
saying I got to pee, they have to piddle. So I went upstairs to take a piddle, and I felt sick. Like immediately, like had this weird feeling in my stomach, and I started feeling sick. Mm-hmm. And then when I went back downstairs, I was fine. Go back upstairs, I felt it again, and like I'm very sensitive to energy. I'm not a psychic
Mm-hmm.
by any means. I'm not Zach Bagans or anybody. I don't see ghosts. However, I feel it. I feel the energies, and it just felt weird. Um, so yeah, we're in a castle, and
That was 100. It's meant to be the most haunted place in Europe, that castle.
no,
Yeah, I told Matthew that before we went. JC. I was like, it's the most haunted place in Europe, Kilkenny Castle. He was like, is it? And I sent him the link on Google. Yeah.
well that explains a lot. Because even Zach
Yep.
started singing a
Yeah.
song about these weird pictures being on the guys. It was really like it was super dope. Like the pasture, right, the front yard is a huge like pasture of dairy cows. They're happy cows. The grass is super green. There must have been like 300 or 400 cows. Like there were so many of them.
That was a lot.
I'm glad you're telling me this now, not while I was in the castle. Thanks. Uh, glad I didn't stay in the castle either. Jesus.
I know, right? We had a lucky
Oh, Kilkenny
save.
Castle. Well, Google it, guys. That's where we're at. They paired us with our musicians. I got the incredible Jeremiah. And you
Oh my God,
got
he's such a nice human.
Jeremiah's amazing. Jeremiah and Blue Haze, their band. Go check them out. And then you got Mike Stanley. I'm gonna give Mike crap, but I think he fell pretty hard for you like the second day. I was like, oh, this is cute. So without going into too much detail, I'm just giving him crap because he knows it and we know it. You guys,
Hi, Mike
I'm
Stanley.
Mike Stanley. He's got an incredible band, by the way. Go check him out. Another plug. But I was just, you guys connected the way I think we all connected with our musicians. And
Mm.
I remember we were doing our songs, kind of separated at a different castle. What castle was that? The one next to the hotel.
I don't know which one that
It was pretty.
was. It was gorgeous,
It was
though, wasn't it? The
gorgeous.
grounds were
Hmm.
lovely.
We
Yeah.
we literally we started writing our songs at that Kilkenny castle, but then we went to the other castle to kind of keep writing and finish up. Excuse me. And we were all kind of separated in our own little spots. And I remember I met up with you and Mike at the hotel, and I
Yeah.
heard y'all sing it in the courtyard, and I'm like, Jesus. I was just like, this is incredible. What was that whole experience like for you?
because I do poetry, it was really exciting. But to like poetry's so different to songwriting, isn't it? It's different. You get to read a poet, like a poem. I mean,
It's
I
really
enjoy that.
not.
But this is it was different, similar in ways, but different in ways because it was so like hearing Mike sing
Mm.
what we were writing together, and it was so easy to write with him. I think he's got some past experiences, and we both just throwing stuff in, and whatever we said mingled, it just mixed, and it was like that song was meant to be. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it was it was so easy to write together, but at the same time, it was so intense, and it really. I think there's a few like the last few lines. My story isn't over. I think that was some good wording because that can bring strength to anybody, no matter what we go through and our suicidal thoughts and whatever else goes on. That line, that simple, my story isn't over, is just, you've got more in you. Go on,
Mm-hmm.
keep going. And I know we made a lot of people cry, didn't we? All of us with our
Are
songs,
you
everyone's
kidding
just
me? He
crying
was
left, right, and
crying.
centre.
He couldn't even get through it. He was crying. I mean, proof that, the music is so powerful. It's so
Yeah.
beautiful. Seriously.
I think the nerve-wracking bit was on stage, right?
Oh, you guys sounded great on stage. Oh, yeah, and that was the other thing, guys. We had to get on stage and perform it in front of people. And the Texas Tornado Tour, guys, they actually have a following of fans and people that support them that fly to, I was going to say Illinois, that fly to Ireland as well. So we literally had almost 100 people on this flight between us, the musicians, and fans, like supporters.
Mm.
And freaking
And then
incredible.
locals in front of all these and we had to like perform it like we wrote in a few days we wrote this song and performed it on stage. It's like what that
Yeah, the
would seem
pressure was real.
impossible to look at.
The pressure's real.
Yeah, but it didn't feel that pressurized at the same time.
It's not like songwriting's the thing is it's like you want to make sure it's good, right? And
Yeah,
like I told you, like we performed it and it was literally our demos because when we get in the studio to record it, it's not going to sound like that.
yeah.
It's going to sound even better. But
Exactly.
yeah, the
I'm
pressure.
practicing my singing.
Yeah, there you go. Like Jeremiah and I were brainstorming and I have it all recorded. Like I have a good 50, like an hour recording of us talking through it. And it's kind of cool. I'm like, oh, I
Mm.
forgot I hit record on this. And flushing out ideas. And it's frustrating because you're like, do I want to talk about this? And that's what I told the fans and the supporters. When I shared my story in the castle, it like anybody's story can go any which direction. We talked about that when we started this
Mm.
episode. But me and Jeremiah wrote about is actually different than what I shared in the castle. It's not quite.
Same as mine, isn't it?
It was crazy.
Yeah.
I was like, "Is this right?" We can't really mess it up because your story. But I think equally, like across the board, everybody's music and songs were top freaking notch, and
Yeah.
it was, yeah, it was great. It was great. Um,
I love that all our songs people can relate to in
mhm,
one way, shape, or form. Each one of our songs, even though they're all different stories,
mhm,
all of us veterans can relate to each other's songs,
mhm.
and the musicians could relate to our songs, and the crowd could relate to our songs. So it wasn't just relatable to veterans, our songs. They were so open-minded,
Yeah.
like it can reach so many communities and so many different people that and it still makes you cry no matter
They
what. You're like,
all
oh God.
cried. They all. I told Teresa before I went on. I'm like, don't worry, mine's not gonna make you cry. And we got off after performing it. And she's like in tears. She's like, really? It's not gonna make me cry? I'm like, I didn't think it would. Uh, and Dave Grohl from the Foo Fighters, the lead singer, the Foo Fighters, the band. Okay, never mind.
I know the Foo
Any
Fighters bands, but I don't
okay,
know their
the lead
names.
singer, the lead singer.
Right, okay.
He has a quote, and I have leaned on. Actually, that's what kind of started this whole podcast, and the idea of it is.
Sorry, Foo Fighters. I don't know your names. I feel so bad. Sorry.
Hey, if the Foo Fighters are watching, yo, I need sponsors, bro. Come on, guys. Just something.
And I'll
Just
learn
something.
all your music and sing it terribly
Well, there we
because
go.
I can't sing.
Sounds like a party. Well, he has this saying. He's like, that's the great thing about music, or is that you could sing a song to 85,000 people and they'll all sing it back to you for 85,000 different reasons.
So true, right?
Music,
Wow, yeah.
right? I mean,
I love you, Foo
amazing.
Fighters.
Now she loves you. I'm sure. Well, the song "My Hero," the one that they sang all the time, that's Foo Fighters.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's Foo Fighters.
I do know that one.
See, you do know them. So you know,
Just my bad memory. That's what it is.
yeah. Well, we'll contribute it to that. But all in all, before we really go down a rabbit hole, so how was that experience overall? And have you been leaning on your song since you've been back?
Yes, I've been trying to learn it before we get in the studio and practice singing. So I'm better than what I was on stage. Can you hear me?
Yeah. Go ahead.
Yeah. So I've been, and then I'm trying to learn the guitar. Although Mike said, "Can you learn the notes for our song to play?" I mean, I can barely hold the thing, and I'm just about to get a G. I don't think I can learn the.
Hey, if you know how to flip
That's not
somebody
going to
off, you
happen.
already know the G chord.
That's not going to happen. But yeah, I've played it to a few like friends and family members, and everyone has cried. They're like, "Oh,"
I'm
but it
telling you,
definitely
so
made
good.
me feel. I feel proud of our songs. Very proud of each one of us and our songs individually.
Good.
Very, very proud.
They're great. They're
And I want
great.
to write more. Mm.
They're great. I mean, you do the hardest part, which is writing. Like you write poetry, which is pretty much songwriting. You just got to structure it a little bit differently, if at all. Like you don't
Yeah.
even have to do that. I mean, it's music's music. You can do whatever you want with it. Um, but yeah, yeah, Ireland was definitely one for the books, 100%.
Hmm.
So, well, my friend, I think we've done really well today on this little episode. So, before I let you go, I need to know something.
Go on.
Where can people find you if they want to reach out to you for resources or just say, hey Amber, how are you? Or what does that look like? Where can people find you?
So we've got my Instagram, Warrior Bambi GH, like the GH, so it's easier. And or Facebook, Amber Geimer Hosking, Golf Uniform Yankee Mike Echo Romeo hyphen Hotel Oscar Sierra Kilo India November Golf. There we are, Geimer Hosking.
There you go. Phonetic alphabet
But
at its
then yeah,
best. Very
so they're
cool.
the best two. Although I'm a bit rubbish at answering messages, so I do go through them once a week
You,
to see. But
you're
I
rubbish.
can be rubbish at,
What does that mean?
yeah.
Bad?
Like my inbox can be a bit overwhelming at times, so I don't always.
It's rubbish.
It's rubbish.
It's
My
rub.
response is rubbish to people.
It's rubbish.
I'm working on it. Yeah.
I'm working on your dialect. I got to learn this stuff. Pedal and yeah, we'll figure it out. But I got to tell you, it's been a joy to interview you today. It really has been. Super, super
I
cool.
missed you.
I missed you too. Yeah, we're going to get off and we're
Yeah.
still going to be on for another hour. Watch. It's going to be great.
But we love all y'all for watching. That wasn't right, was it? That was wrong.
No. That was actually right. I love all y'all. Mm-hmm. Yeah, you're getting it. I told you. You're learning from the best. Once we get you to Texas, you got a room here at my place, you and your boy, and we got to get you a real cowboy hat.
I've got dates. I'll tell you the dates once we're finished.
Sweet. All right. Well, I appreciate your time so much.
Thank you for your time.
Hey, of course. I'm going to sign off with my beautiful listeners, and you stay put. Oh, she's blowing kisses. She's blowing kisses. All right. Well, all right, guys. There you had it. We had Amber GH from the UK. I feel like a radio host right now. I'm practicing. I got to get my radio spot on point so I can send some fillers out. We'll see. Maybe he'll hear me on the radio. Who knows?
Next up, we have coming.
Next up,
Foo Fighters.
The Foo Fighters. I might have. I had Mike the Situation from Jersey Shore. he didn't agree, or he never even said hi or anything, but I tagged him in a post and he liked it. So we'll see what happens. Maybe we can get some Jersey Shore people. I don't know.
Touch wood.
Dude, it'd be great, man. It's all about sharing your stories, and he's got a hell of a story. But all right, in all seriousness, let me come down from this. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Thank you, listeners, so much for listening. Appreciate it. Get ready, because our next guest is actually a threesome and a G-rated, not the R-rated nasty perverts who are listening to this. I got three people that I'm going to interview once. We'll see how that goes. I've never done that. I say I've never done that. I've done it, but I've never done it on this kind of a platform. So get ready, because it's going to be great. I appreciate you guys. I love you guys. Make sure you tune in and subscribe to all that good stuff that makes you YouTube famous. And I'll see you later.